So I actually wanted to use our meditation time that we usually do as a review time, because it is the last class. I feel we can all benefit from looking back to see what we've discussed, and then get the class in. Oh, first I have some all of it, yeah. And let's all give a round of applause to our people that have been doing their homework along. For doing their homeworks.
For doing your homework.
Yeah, both of them, Hogan and
Hogan.
Yes. Right, they deserve that. Yeah, very amazing. Very amazing. I wonder if we can turn one of those things off, because I feel like I have to yell. My voice is not that loud. Thank you. So my kids want to learn Dutch, and I am from Holland, and I always feel like I failed them for not speaking Dutch with them. But in my defense, I was just trying to survive those first years of their lives, and that was too much for me. I couldn't, I had 3 kids under the age of 5, and it was enough for me to deal with. But they like to learn Dutch, and I'd like to teach them, but I don't really know where to start. And because I don't speak Dutch with anybody around me, it's not natural for me to just start speaking Dutch to them. It's kind of weird. So I found this thing online where you can do Skype lessons with a teacher. And so we'll be starting that up soon, assuming they still want to do this. But she referred us to this website that if you want to live in Holland, you have to do this website. And it's a free website, and you have to go through all these lessons. And by the end of it, you need to get a certain score. Otherwise, you're not allowed to live in Holland. Okay, so I'm using this website, and this is all very new. I can't say if this will last or not, but for now it's working. And so lesson 1 is you learn the numbers. And the way they do it is they share first the video, so it's visual. You see all these little people popping up, and it will say the word in Dutch underneath it, and you have a sound. And then after the video, you see the numbers, and then you can click on the sound button. So there's a whole system in place. Then after doing that, now you've heard it a few times, how to say it, then you start to do exercise, and you have to match the sound with the number. And it's very cool. I think it's a very smart setup. I could see, I don't know yet, but it looks like to me that it would be effective to learn a language the way they have set this up. So why am I saying all of this? Because of the homeworks and quizzes. This is also a whole system, right? It's a whole system put in place of all these teachings that we have. The way they are presented isn't just for a random reason, It's not. There's a whole system behind it. There's a whole thought behind it to get this into your mind stream, right? Just like these Dutch lessons. It's very, very smartly organized and presented. And just like these courses, I'm almost done myself with all of them. And especially now, almost being done, I look back at it, and now I can see how genius it is. That it is indeed not just classes, it's a whole system. And I always have this vision of a big puzzle, and I have all these random puzzle pieces, and that's how I felt for years. I just felt like every time there was a puzzle, but I couldn't see the whole picture and the whole connection between all the puzzle pieces. And now, being almost done with all these courses, it's all coming together, and now I can look back at it and go, "Whoa, this is really amazing the way it's set up." So when you do the homeworks and quizzes, you are becoming part of the system, becoming this puzzle that's connecting, and at some point it will all come together, and it's so clear on these steps how to become enlightened, really. And it takes dedication, and it takes time and effort, and I strongly feel that it's totally worth every minute of it, especially now, where I am almost done it, and I look back. Yeah. So
What's the next course?
I would like to teach number 10 in September, if you guys are okay with that. Have you done 10?
I probably have, but what is it?
It's
I
a
want to
Shanti.
begin regardless.
It's a Master Shanti Deva, and there's 3 courses. I forget what it's called right now. There's 3 courses in a row that are Master Shanti Deva, and they're very, very beautiful. And I feel like because we now have a mixed group of people, Malini and Tessa aren't here today, but I do believe they want to continue. So I want to offer something that the newer people, that it's good for, and then for the people that have been coming for a while, that they haven't taken that course, but you might have. Yeah.
It's always different.
Yeah.
I
That's
can't
true.
take it. I can't take more. I can take it. I think anyone. I dare speak for it. I dare speak, thinking I know better. That everyone could take this over and over again and be always learning.
Yeah.
Until they become, beyond intake. And it's always special each context.
Yeah.
Depending on your fellow students and your instructor, and it's such a beautiful experience. So it's unique. It's wonderful.
Have
We
you
can
done
start
10?
this course again?
I came in when Love Jones did 12 last
Okay.
class and 12.
Good. Yeah, so Kara might be, but the only one then.
So I won't be here in September.
You won't? Oh, okay. Right. Meh. Yeah. Okay, so let's just move back. So this course was all about meditation, and we've learned a lot. So we started really with the preparation to meditation, on what we're supposed to do, with the, actually, even before that, we were talking about definitions of meditation types, right? We had all these Tibetan and Sanskrit words to help us understand some differences between types of meditations, general definitions. Which really the most important ones, I don't know if I can say that, but important ones of that list would be shamatha, which is one word that we get a lot, right? That you will hear a lot in your retreat with Doug, right? Who remembers what is shamatha? Yeah, good. So it is single point flow. So this is what we are working towards, just a high level of concentration, right? And then we want to inject into that high level of concentration, wisdom, which is what we're working up towards. And then we can have that special realization that we always talk about in these courses, seeing emptiness directly. So we need to be able to concentrate to have that. So then in order to get ready for meditation, they recommend a few things like cleaning up your room before you sit down. Just make this a beautiful ritual to get your mind prepared to sit down and go deep. Then you can set up an altar, making offerings before you sit down. We talked about those water bowls, what they represent, and then a posture. Who can explain to me what the posture? There's a 7 or 8 point posture that we discussed in that class. Maybe we can get together. Yeah. Left foot first. Did you put the left foot up? Left foot first, and then the right. And what else? Can you describe it?
Your hands, your left and your right hand on top of your
Mm-hmm.
lap.
In your lap. Yeah. What else?
Direct spine.
Yeah, straight back.
Mouth can be part of the tongue behind too.
Yeah, just so you have this area relaxed, right? We often are so tight around there, so it's good to bring some focus there. What else?
Relaxed abdomen. Maybe I don't know if you mentioned that.
It's not in this list. No. Shoulders. Shoulders are straight. I think. What else? Sorry? Oh yeah, your eyes. Yes. Slightly open in this list, right? You say cast them down, leave a little light in so you don't get too sleepy. And then, so this posture is called the 7 point posture. Sometimes it's called the 8 point posture, because they include one extra thing, which is what? Breath. Breath. Yeah. Breath. Good. Okay, and then we have those 7 ingredients when we start to meditate. And it's a nice preliminary, and it can be a meditation in itself also. We've done that a few times in this course. So the way it looks, let's see if we have a list of it. So the way that we often do it is you first visualize the Buddha or Lama or any teacher that you see in your world as a teacher, and you make them offerings. Right? Then you start to make confessions to purify yourself. And then you tell them something great that you did. And these can all be small things, they don't have to be massive, they can be. You tell them something great you did, then you tell them something great somebody else did. And then we request their teachings, their blessings. We ask them to stay. It's really a very condensed version of what it is. And then at the end, we dedicate. It's a very powerful meditation because it's very potent. It has so much in there, and you're purifying and you're collecting a lot of virtue. What's the difference between a prayer and a dedication?
Dedication you already have, so prayer you don't have, so you're asking for it. Because the last step is to dedicate the karma towards your life.
Mm-hmm.
So you're dedicating the karma accumulated.
To something higher.
Yeah. You have.
Yeah, so a prayer is something you wish for. Yeah, something, generally something good, right? And then we had this class where we talked about the environment. So this was partially related to retreat, but also partially to your own meditation practice at home. Right? So we were talking about, let's see, being comfortable, very important, that you're warm enough. You don't want to be distracted when you sit down and you're like, now you're meditating and then you realize, oh, I'm cold or I'm hungry or I'm this or I'm that, right? So you need to make sure that you have everything you need and you're really ready to meditate. You're comfortable, you're warm, you're safe, right? And in the case of retreat, you want to be somewhere where people are around you that support you. You don't want to be in a place where you're not supposed to be or something, or where they don't approve of your practice or something like that, because it will affect your meditation. And then, of course, you want it to be quiet and just goodness, so not a lot of people around, no noise. In retreat, it's good to just have no music, no books, no distractions, and just going inwards. So that's all part of having that conducive place. And then as far as an attitude for in the world that will help you then with your meditation is, if you are satisfied, you don't need much to be satisfied. Because if you're always thinking you want more, or this is not good, it will affect your meditations too. It will affect your whole being. So, and then giving up things. Don't do all these unnecessary things. Just make your choices on where you're going to spend your time. And then avoid harming beings. Again, it's not good for your conscience if you are going into meditation and you have all these bad things on your mind. You're not going to have good meditations. I always feel like when I go on retreat, even if I'm just going for a couple of days, like I feel like I'm preparing to die or something. I have to arrange everything and make sure that everyone and everything is good. You know, any unfinished business I finish before I go. So I know once I'm in retreat, I don't have to think about, oh, I didn't pay that bill, or, you know, because you can't do anything about it when you're in retreat, because you're not going to break your retreat to do that. But you don't want to have unnecessary things on your mind. So before that, I just treat it like I'm going forever, even though I'm just gone for a couple of days or something. I don't want to leave unfinished things. Right? And then we ran into problems with meditation. Does anybody remember what kind of problem we might run in first?
Agitation.
It's definitely in there, not the first one though. The very first one, not doing it. Yeah. Yeah, feeling lazy, right? Not feeling like it. Not doing it. The biggest problem. Biggest problem. That's what I always feel amazed too when people show up for yoga classes, because I always think it's the hardest thing, you know, especially at the end of the day. You hit the couch and it's almost impossible to get up and get yourself to a yoga class. And it's the same with meditation, right? Doing it, that's just sitting yourself down and carving the time to do it. And it's hard. It's hard, especially if you don't have clearly in your mind why you're doing it, right? So they're saying to fix this problem, you got to think about the benefits of meditation. What is it that you want out of it, you know? We can't expect to be in deep meditation in an instant if we don't practice, if we don't put in the time, you know. You can't expect to be a concert pianist without having put daily practice in. Generally, it doesn't work like that. Anything you want to be very good at, you gotta spend time every day. And it can be just a few minutes, but every day is the key, right? So when you think about the benefits, thinking about, you can really get deep realizations in meditation, and you can even get out of the cycle of suffering altogether. Then hopefully you realize, okay, that's something I want. And because you want it, you're going to put in the effort. And then by putting in the effort, you start to create a habit. You start to create, you know, practicing becomes easier and easier to just sit down. And you'll miss it when you don't do it, right? Especially if you do it every day at the same time, and then one day you don't do it at that time, you can feel it. You can feel it. So that's the first big problem. And then losing the object of meditation is then the next problem. So, and what do you do about that? Well, you catch yourself, you recall the object, when you are lost in making your shopping list or whatever, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I'm just totally somewhere else, then it's like, okay, let's just bring ourselves back, okay, back to the object. Now and then when you can hold the object a bit better for longer periods of time, then you start to run into dullness and agitation. And we have gross, obvious dullness, and then we have more subtle. And dullness is a problem because it can feel to meditators that they're doing well, yet they're dull. So we need to be very watchful for that dullness. And that is the antidote, watchfulness, for agitation and dullness. So you just keep, every few minutes, you just check in. So the main incentive to meditation is to see emptiness directly, because when we see emptiness directly, we can eliminate or destroy anger and all our afflictive emotions, right? And then become enlightened. So we want to watch for those things. And then when we notice them, we have to take action. And how do you take action? When you feel dull, they're saying here, okay, we have to tighten up that concentration. Because we want to have intensity and clarity. And so when we feel dull, we can start to brighten up by, shifting for a second to the thought of how crazy fortunate we are to be alive, to be sitting here in health, with a mind that functions, with a body that functions, and that we are just having all these great human conditions that are here for us, right? So that should hopefully uplift you, and then you can shift back to that object. Other things you can do is thinking about your teacher, as this will accumulate virtue, or focusing on bright light, thinking of the sun or stuff like that, thinking of good qualities of your teacher or Buddha. And if these all don't work, we can just take a break, stretch, get some fresh air, splash some water on your face, pace back and forth for a bit, and then go back to it. Or sometimes just looking at open sky, like something big and vast, can help. So dullness is kind of like down, like depressed, so we want to lift up the mind, right? So when it's agitation, it's the other opposite. Agitation is you're too active, you're kind of hyper, so we want to bring the mind down. And how do we bring the mind down? We think about death. That's always a good one. That should bring you down a bit. Or you can, think about suffering, people suffering, stuff like that. Or you can count your breaths. The breath meditation is good to shift your mind back to a neutral plane, and then you go back again. So then when we encounter all these problems, we are moving through all these stages of meditation. So there's 9 stages of meditation. And basically, it's from being not able to concentrate at all, just maybe for a second here and there. Every step is just a little bit longer, a little bit better. Applying those antidotes to the problems you encounter, eventually you should be not pulled by your agitation or dullness, and you should be able to focus, having your mind under control, right? Placing your mind in deep meditation. So this takes time. So you can read over these 9 at home, but you get the gist, I think. So then in class 8, we were talking about the different kinds of meditations. Who remembers which 3 types of meditation we have? Yeah, good. A fixed meditation, and what else? Review, and one more. Yeah. Yeah. So analytical meditation is great when you start to bring a problem to your mind, for instance, and you start to work it out, debating yourself about it, eventually coming to a conclusion, hopefully, and then that can be your fixed meditation. You can stick with whatever the outcome is. Okay. So then we all got the source of all my good from Turnjeet. And this, did she give you one, Debbie? Yeah. So what that is, the source of all my good, it's called the Lam Rim. We call it steps on the path to enlightenment. So basically, this text is all you need to know. It's the whole path explained. It's a beautiful, powerful thing. So you can read it, you can try to remember it. We're talking about 3 different levels of practitioners. So we have lesser capacity, medium, and then greater capacity. So these are all included in this verse, in these verses. So in class 8, we started to talk about that. So when you are a person of a lesser scope, lesser sounds so not good, but but it is. If we can only reach that level, you know. The lesser scope people are concerned with their rebirth. So they don't want to be reborn as a being in the lower realm. So they really don't want to be born as a hell being or as an animal or as a hungry ghost. So that's their main motivation why they do what they do. But the medium and the greater scope will also have this motivation. They also don't want to have a lower rebirth. So they do all have that in common, but it just gets a little bit more extensive as you move to the medium and greater scope. But where it all starts is the teacher. So the very first verse is the source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to him in the proper way is the very root of the path. And grant me then to serve and follow him with all my strength and reverence. So that's the very first thing that a person of the lesser scope does. They realize they need to find a teacher. And why do you need to find a teacher? That's something. here. I don't know. I found this nice thing about that. Can't find it. But anyways, a teacher should be a being that can help you get out of suffering. And they're qualified to do that. They know how to help you. They know what you need. They know exactly how to guide you. So if you can put your trust in a being that you see as high and holy, and you wish that you could be like them, then that would be a good person to follow. You know? They can look so many different ways, but yeah. Everyone around you is in a sense your teacher, right? Anybody that pushes your buttons in any kind of way is just showing you where you need to work. But then if there's this one being that can actually tell you what to do, that sees so clearly, sees your mind so clearly and knows exactly this or this needs to be worked on, and will give you whatever you need to start working on it. And then, yeah, you are in the world, and all these people still push your buttons until they don't. So, in a sense, everybody will always be your teacher. But if you have that one person that can really be there and guide you and really smash your ego is what it's all about. Because they love you so much, because they want you to be free of suffering, and they know that as long as you are still so attached to this me that you think you are, you can never be free, you can never be fully happy. And they'll break your heart. That's what they'll do. They'll smash it to pieces. And that's what needs to be done if you want to become enlightened. Right? And it's a beautiful thing. So you find a teacher, and then you surrender to them, and you allow them to do the work with you. And you watch your mind as good as you can. So that's the first verse. You want to find a teacher. You want to somehow merge with them. And then the second verse is, bless me to realize the excellent life of leisure that I have found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. And grant me then to wish and never stop to wish that I could take its essence night and day. My body and the life in it are as fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. So just realizing how lucky we are to be in the situation that we're in, how rare it is, how we must take everything we can, how we should not waste our time, right? So this is all the lower scope. This is what you do first. You go through these things. You find yourself a teacher. You think about how amazing this opportunity is, how rare it is. You know, we think about all the beings in the world that don't have lives like we do, we mustn't waste our time, you know. And then we think about death in this lesser scope, which is three parts. Like, I know I'm going to die. I don't know when. And when I die, the only thing that can help me is the Dharma. So the first two will probably make sense to everybody, because we've seen people around us die. You know, maybe you've had to scare yourself to almost die at some point. Because we don't know when it's going to happen, but we know it will happen. Again, this is a huge motivator to take this life and use it to its fullest potential, right? And the karma is highly intertwined with this, of course. So we have to understand karma, we have to understand emptiness. We understand that everything is a result of our actions. And everything we see is a projection forced upon us because of our actions. This will change the way we stand in our life.
When you say actions, you mean thoughts as well as action.
Yeah. So, and if we think about, if we act like we're going to die, our lives will look different. You know, if you think this is my last day, I'm going to die tomorrow. If you truly think that, you might make different choices on how you spend your time, right? So, if we could only reach that point of the lesser capacity people, if we can live like that, like we can die any second here, truth is we can. We don't know. We'd make different decisions in our daily life, right? Our priority would be different. Let's say we'd be very more connected, we'd feel more love, and we want to make sure that everybody around us knows how much we love them, and we'll be more kind, and all of these things, right? If you truly think you're going to die any second, it's a very powerful state of mind if you could attain that. You know? And really, you need to meditate on that to get to that place. You have to internalize it. So then the fourth verse, is about the karma, right? Grant me then to ever be careful to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. So when we understand we're going to die any second, and we understand how karma and emptiness work, we'll try to do as much good as we possibly could. because we'd understand that that's going to determine our next life. And if you want to have a good rebirth, you need to be very good. You need to have a lot of virtue, right? So we need to be very moral.
So, I think my understanding is that many of us will be born again and again.
Yeah.
But then from what I also hear, that being born as a human is really special. That it's like that image they said of the turtle coming up in the water. So it's really rare and special that we're born as a human and
Yeah.
go to practice.
Yeah.
So potentially we will be born many, many times as other beings, only a few times as humans, or very rarely as humans.
Yeah. So according to these teachings, yeah, you've been born millions of times before, and you've had very little human life. I mean, I can't say, I don't know, but I said that I think last week, right? If you think about 5 minutes of your mind, of what you think about, hundreds of thoughts will come and go, and of those 100, how many are they really virtuous, right? Many of them might be kind of neutral or self-absorbed. What am I gonna eat after class, or how am I gonna get home, or whatever, right? So if you think about hundreds of thoughts in 5 minute span, and think about your whole day. So if all of these thoughts and your actions are going to determine your next birth, then I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I think many of us aren't doing all that great of a thing. Not that we're bad people, not at all. We're just normal. It's just normal to have neutral thoughts, not very exciting, virtuous thoughts is normal, but it's not going to produce a high rebirth, right? So you have to do a lot of virtue in order to have a good rebirth. Right? So many of our thoughts are very selfish, and depending on who you are, yeah, it will cause a lower birth for sure. So those of us who are fortunate to receive teachings such as these, we can start to practice on being kind and being nice for other people, and being generous, being joyful, and all of these things, then that will shift. It will not only shift your world in this life, but also for your next lives. Yeah.
So I think how rare it is to be born. I can say I honestly want to believe that I'm not going to go down from that and keep
Yeah.
accumulating virtue, get to see the emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
If it was this lifetime, it would be great.
No, it's
I kind of don't want to believe like, oh, I'm not going to come back when I'm the other three.
they say in these teachings that once you hit the second path, the path in preparation, that you cannot have a lower rebirth. So that's a good thing to strive for. Yeah. And I do believe if you have that motivation, that wish that you want to help other beings, and you wish you can eliminate suffering for everybody, like if you have those things in the back of your mind, that will definitely be powerful. So that's really the lesser scope. So the main thing of the lesser scope is, okay, we first find a teacher, we we realize how fortunate we are to have this life, and then we think about death and we think about karma. Then we move up to the medium capacity. So medium capacity also wants all of those things and does all these things, but then added to it is they want freedom. They want out. They want out of the cycle of suffering. So not just a high rebirth, but just a state of mind where you can achieve freedom. So the verse that goes with that is, bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to instead strive for the happiness of freedom. So, with the seemingly good things of life, bless me to perceive what's wrong with those. Okay. So, the nature of any kind of happiness in this life is that it makes you more thirsty. Nobody's ever satisfied. We always want more, right? You have this car that, for instance, you really want, and you've been saving up, and this is going to be it, this amazing vehicle. I'm just saying, whatever. But once you get it, yeah, it's great for the first day or 2 or 3. After a week or so, it's not as exciting anymore, right? So either we start to complain about the vehicle, or we shift to wanting something else, the next thing that we think will provide us something, right? And this is material things, but it's also with your promotions at work or something, first we get paid $7 an hour, we think that's pretty reasonable, and then after some time we want more, and then when we get $10 an hour, we think, yeah, that's great, and then after a while we don't think that's enough, and we always want more. So it seems good for a second, but then it turns into suffering, because the good feeling doesn't last. The good feelings will always go. And this is the nature of relationships with other people. It's with food, We want delicious food. We enjoy it. We either want more or it's finished. We don't have any, it's like, it's just, everything is like that. And some people do it with alcohol or with heroin to just feel good for a second, then they'll need more, Other people do it with other things. That can be, needing a new boyfriend or, whatever it is. We're never satisfied. Always want more. So does that mean you're not allowed to enjoy that delicious thing that you're eating? Not at all. In fact, you probably can't help it, right? When you're having a nice experience of any kind, you can't help it being pleasant, right? So you're being forced to feel like that, which is a virtue. Hogan's enjoying his pepper. So then why is it a problem, I think if you are attached to it. That's where the big problem is, you know. Can you know, have something delicious? Can you give it away? That's a good test to see if you're attached to it. So when you're attached to it, then it's a problem because we then think that the happiness is inside the thing. We think the happiness is inside the pepper that Hogan's eating, but it cannot be. Cannot be. The moment of pleasure is forced upon you by your karma. You're forced to feel it like it does never comes from the pepper. You know? It couldn't, because if it came from the pepper, then everybody would enjoy the pepper, and that's not true. So that's the key. We have to realize that whatever good feeling or bad feeling doesn't come from the thing or the person, the experience. It doesn't come from that. It comes from your past deeds. So you're forced to feel it like this. And is it valid? So say someone at work yells at you, they're just being such a right? You're forced to experience it like that. You're forced to think they're not nice, okay? It's valid. I'm not saying it can be horrible, It absolutely can. But in those cases, we also must realize it doesn't come from the person. I'm forced to feel it like that in this moment. And is it pleasant? No, it's absolutely not pleasant. But somehow I have created this mess. So what do? We can think about this person that's making us feel a certain way, and we can logically prove to ourselves, okay, just like the pleasure isn't in the pepper, in the same way the unkindness is not in the person. Because if that was true, everybody would have the same experience. Everybody would feel that they are unkind always. And that's not true. Maybe their mother or their partner thinks they're amazing, right? So that doesn't mean that it's pleasant in a moment, doesn't mean that at all. So what's the best thing you can do when something unpleasant happens? Best thing to do is just give them all your love. Try to cultivate love for them. And try to understand that they are not inherently bad or unkind people. I'm not even saying that, I'm saying internally. Sometimes it might be best for that person that you start yelling at them. I can't say. But I'm saying what you're feeling on the inside. Yeah. I had this week, and I felt like as a mom I had to protect my daughter from a certain situation. So I had to have a talk with somebody who I knew doesn't like any kind of criticism. But I felt like my daughter was pulled into something that I didn't think was beneficial for anybody involved. So I just said what I wanted to say, and I knew they were going to get mad. Doesn't mean I'm mad at them at all. I'm not upset. I'm not feeling anything like that. But they are. So sometimes that's, but I don't know. I can't control how other people experience me in that moment, right? But I felt strongly that that was the best thing to do for everybody involved, say something about it, and then you just let go of the situation. If they want to be mad at me for the rest of their life, then so be it, right? That's okay. But if you can still cultivate that love for them, then that's all you can do. And you should do. So we have to realize that even the things that seem nice about this life, they're unstable and they cause pain and a particular quality of making you dissatisfied. So again, it's true that you have no choice when you're suffering. You also have no choice when the opposite happens. It's forced upon you.
What does the force define as suffering? Is there a definition you give for suffering?
Not in this particular course, but what do you think?
Well, I'm just thinking if you sit with a suffering, whether it's like a headache or why did my sister say this to me? After a while, it just becomes neutral. It's okay to sit with the pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay that she said what she said. So then it's not suffering anymore.
Then you are transforming that. Yeah, and then that's great. So any discomfort of the mind would be mind or body, I guess, would be suffering. And if you can sit with that pain and do your practice with it, then that's great. If it turns into neutral, and then it will be next arising, right? That's what this life is. The highs and lows. It just keeps coming.
So any arising would be considered suffering? Because it's very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my sister saying something, she thought it was funny. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so it's pleasurable for her and
Suffering for you. Yeah.
But then it's just an arising.
Sure. Sure. And depending on your karma, it will be painful or not, right?
So my karma is around the feeling then, not the actual event. It's the meaning I'm giving to that event.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even that.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's all just. This morning, I was going to the gym and the teacher was there, was starting to tell me things that, I don't know, he said I had to punch harder in the center of the bag and that I had to bend my knees more. And I could feel inside of me this arising of resistance and thinking like, what are you talking about? You know, something like that. And I thought it was so funny because I could just see it come. It didn't bother me. I just saw this thing come and then it was gone again. And that's what it is, you know. So if you can just watch it like that, it can actually be amusing. You know, I thought it was funny to I couldn't. There's nothing I could do to control it. That feeling just arose, and it did this thing, and then it was gone, and I just watched the whole thing, and I never had to act on it or anything. I just felt this thing that I labeled as some kind of resistance or something like that. And it's all like that. But you can't help it. There's nothing I could do. Once it comes, and that can look a million ways. You know, if you're forced to have a beautiful meal and you get one and you just throw it away, then another one will appear, you know? You can't stop the karma from arising, whatever needs to come, whether it's material or mental, whatever.
Thinking about it, how do you reconcile that what we are doing is also a desire? Like we want to find light. We want to reach some sort of thing that we could put under desire. So how do we reconcile?
Well, desire is a powerful thing. So if you spin it to something like this, at some point you'll need to drop that too. But it can function. It can function to get things done,
Just something you think this morning about that, talking about craving, and people think, talk about this. Oh, crave the dharma, that's bad, right? And the person was saying, we have to distinguish what craving is. Craving is an exaggerated projection as to what is desirable. And if we're thinking, well, dharma, is that an exaggerated projection of what is desirable? Perhaps not. Samsara is an exaggerated projection of what's desirable. So that's why you can desire, but it's not exaggerated. It's not a projection because we are seeing that as a realistic means to get to a better place, and it's based on what the best we can tell, a true understanding, a true worldview of what's happening, of what it's about, as opposed to the exaggerated projection of samsara as to what's going to make you happy, what's going to get to create the peace and the wisdom that we want in the world. I don't know if that's
I think that's very beautiful. Yeah, so when we're desiring things or people, it's really to gain for yourself. But when you desire enlightenment, it shouldn't be like that. Then, you're having this desire for other people, to create a better world. And that's a little bit different, right?
I think, I'm sorry. This is good. The fact is, I don't really desire things, and I don't really desire money or higher position or all that kind of stuff that I think is what we're talking about here. But I do desire peace. I do desire to see world peace. Those kind of things are really important to me. So, I feel like, am I doing the same thing? Like, when I don't get the peace, I'm projecting that I'm not getting the peace. That's what I'm trying to understand. And how to get off that, because we're supposed to, we want to, as is being said here, is that this is what our aim is, this is what our intention is.
Yeah, so it's always good to really try to see what is behind your intention when you are desiring anything, right? And I think desiring enlightenment in this whole system, it works. It works to get you to a certain place where you then will have to drop even that desire, right?
We wouldn't be here if we didn't desire.
Yeah, desire is a beautiful thing. It can be used in a very powerful way. Right? It can be used to transform. Like, we need desire. If you don't have the desire, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't.
Well, I remember Buddha saying that ignorance is a gift to enlightenment.
always will be there. And it's recognizing it as the first step.
Well, how to link what was going on here. As far as I can tell, I don't know what enlightenment is, but I do know what suffering is and arising is, and I want to be at peace with that. So in my little thought is enlightenment for me is being at peace with whatever arises.
Mm.
It's going to come up anyways. Right?
Exactly.
Is that enlightenment, there won't be the suffering.
Exactly. It just comes, you do the little, and off it goes.
But at this point with the world where we can accept what's happening,
Accept.
right? And we can see where it's placed. And that's going to be helpful to help us move forward.
Yeah.
We won't despair again, right? We can move forward.
Yeah, if we can see what's happening, we can understand, we can be with peace with it, but we understand that it is a projection. However you see yourself and the world is a projection, and it's forced upon you, right? And you don't respond to any of the little things that trigger you, then at some point they're all going to fall away, and your world won't have any of those things anymore, right? You can't be affected in that way. Yeah, I have to get through a few more things. We're running out of time. Okay, so and then in this medium capacity, goal is to change your own nature. So that's basically what we just said. So that's good. What does it mean when you don't have any suffering? You'd have a pure body and a pure mind. Okay, so to get to freedom, I'll read this verse. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality the essence of my practice. They are the root of the Buddha's teachings. So it's saying we have to be moral. We have to act moral. We have to collect that virtue to see our own world shift. Right? And then from there, you can move up to the greater path, the greater scope, which is now you're going to include all living beings. So it's not just for you that you want to get out of suffering and pain anymore. You also want other beings not to have it. So that's the next verse. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, everyone, my own mother, has fallen in too. Grant me then to practice the highest wish for enlightenment, to take upon myself the task of freeing them all. And bless me clearly that the wish itself is not enough, for if I'm not well trained in the three moralities, I cannot become a Buddha. So grant me a fierce resolve to master the vows for the children of the victors. So you develop the wish to want to become enlightened to help all beings, and now you're going to learn how to do the actions you need to do to get the virtue, right? So you're learning to act like a bodhisattva, think and act. So the bodhisattva activities that are mentioned here are the 6 perfections, which we have talked about in the last course, I think. So now you're practicing your giving, your morality. You're not getting angry. You're being happy about doing virtue. Your concentration and your wisdom. So these are the big things you're working on in order to become enlightened for the sake of all beings. You want to help other beings, right? So there's 2 parts. So you're learning to act like a bodhisattva in the open way, and then we have the secret way. Secret is called the tantric way, and you're learning to do tantric bodhisattva activities, which comes later. When you do enough virtue, then tantra will just come. And they're calling it secret, but it's a self-keeping secret, because you can't hear it until you're ready for it. You might be able to get a book from the library, read something, but it won't do anything for you. Okay, so it's not like you can't talk about it. It just won't happen. So when they say in that verse that I just read, the 3 types of morality, they refer to you restrain yourself from doing bad deeds. So when someone starts yelling at you, you don't yell back. That would be restraint, right? Then the 2nd type of morality is collecting goodness. And then the 3rd is morality with everybody else in mind. Okay? So you can do the other 2 moralities with that motivation to help all beings. So when you restrain yourself from a bad deed, you can do that for all beings. Or when you do something good, you can just offer it out to all beings, like that. It's a beautiful way to live. So I think I got through most of it.
You know, Vipassana, wisdom has been correct worldview,
Yeah.
emptiness. But then it also says insight. So is that another definition for wisdom? Or?
Yeah.
So insight into
reality, understanding how reality works. Yeah. So then you can apply that to your meditation. So where are the causes for your nirvana going to be planted? Right here. Nowhere else. Just with the people around you, your neighbors, friends, family, anybody you can do good with, anybody who will push your buttons, will give you the opportunity every time to come a little bit closer to enlightenment. There is just a couple of definitions here that I'll read because I think they're in the homework. Definition of quietude or shamatha. It's a bit of a mouthful. That single-mindedness, which is imbued with the exceptional bliss of practice ease due to deep single-pointed meditation on its object. So you are single-mindedly focused on an object, and this single-mindedness is just imbued with the practice ease because you've been practicing this every day, right? So it becomes easy, and it's very blissful to be in that deep state of concentration. And then the insight, the vipassana, vipassana. Yeah, they say vipassana here. So. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's 100% the same thing, to be honest. Okay. I just don't want you to be confused with the definition that's given here and the definition that you know. So here they're talking about wisdom. So you're imbuing this wisdom into that shamatha, right? So that wisdom, which is full of exceptional bliss, of practice ease, by power of the analysis of its object, and which is founded upon shamatha, which is founded upon quietude. Sorry?
Explain that.
Yeah, so really, when you have that shamatha, that deep concentration, that's like a platform. On that platform, you can start to analyze things, with the wisdom that you have. And you can come to deep realizations in that way. And it's necessary to see emptiness directly.
So you do some sort of analysis in Vipassana? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So is it like if shamatha would be your lama gives you a mantra? So you say that mantra, let's say it's one word. That's shamatha, and then you start to analyze that mantra, or you just see what comes up.
I would, in this case, I think you would just see the emptiness of the whole thing. Right? Thinking about emptiness on any kind of topic. Yeah.
So basically, you're just sitting with it till it loses its lens in. I don't know.
You're injecting this wisdom into whatever it is that you want to meditate on, right? So the difference is that, with the wisdom you're analyzing it, and shamatha is not analyzing.
Concentration is my thought is that mantra helps you to concentrate, your object of concentration. So it's helping you condition your mind to get to that platform.
So when we talk about exceptional bliss of practiced ease in these two definitions, you could see it as your mind concentrates, therefore your winds, your energies start to straighten out. That causes your body to feel bliss, which makes you mentally feel happy.
So the platform from the mantra. So is that like on the spectrum? And then so once that is achieved, then you just have the realizations.
Sorry, I don't follow.
So let's say you're concentrating, you've got a mantra, you just do the mantra, try to think nothing else and keep coming back to the mantra. Then is that going to evolve into wisdom? Like from that, maybe you can have realizations?
Because you mentioned platform, I think it creates a platform. It's kind of preparatory, I would think. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
And then, well, that's another thing. But then your mind will be so concentrated and everything so aligned that, well, that's a special. I only heard about it, but I think that would be a very state of mind where one would have great power to be able to perhaps summon up a source, and a subject and concentrate on it. But I think it's getting to that concentrated point, that platform, that alignment, that calm, that very concentrated abiding. That's what that's what I'm understanding it as. No? Yes. It takes work.
But it comes.
Well,
Goes.
people do it.
Goes.
They do it in one lifetime.
They do.
Yeah.
They definitely do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last thing that I just want to say about this mantra that you're bringing up is that a mantra is empty too. So you can inject the wisdom that you have around a mantra.
And then the wisdom is empty too.
Then what?
That wisdom must be empty too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like anything, right? We can apply that wisdom to just like a mantra or a pillow or anything, right? Anything is like that. It's a blank screen. Well, thank you. That was a lot of talking. Thank you for hanging in there and for keep coming. And it was really a pleasure to have you guys here.
You can do the
So we'll end with a prayer, and then we don't do a frustration.